Hello, my name is Christopher Prayoga, and here I want to explain how to improve student speaking skill with a short story. Okay, but first we need to know what is short story. A short story is a piece of the typical can be read in one sitting and focus on a self-contained incident or series of linked incidents with the intent of evoking a single effect or mood. The short story is one of the oldest type of literature and exists in the form of legends, mythic tales, folk tales, and many others of variants that ancient communities around the world. The modern short story developed in the early 19th century. There's too many ways to improve your speaking skill, and one of the how you can be the way to improve your speaking skill is by using the short story. Now we come to the step when using short story in the learning process. The main goal in this learning method is to retell the short story in a good and the correct English. First, the teacher needs to explain what is short story, the definition of short story, and what is the purpose of the activity and on that day. And the second is dividing students into several groups according to the numbers of short story. In this learning method, I use 3 short story as the main material lesson. So students in one class are divided into 3 large groups, and each group has a leader to hold the paper of the short story, then distribute it to the other friend. The third step is teacher must ensure that all students are evenly distributed. So there is should be student choose only one story because that story is dominant, because the story is too easier to explain. So the whole class need to be separate in the same number or even a close number to other group. The fourth step is teacher distribute it to the group leader, the paper, or it can be distributed in the form of file of the short story in the Google Classroom if you use Google Classroom when you teaching that class. The fifth step is to ask students to read and understand the short story carefully. And then the next meeting, they need each student to retell the story that they have already read. For the notes, students are allowed to bring a paper or notes for their summary as the guide of retelling, but they do not allow to read the paper so often. For the evaluation, assessment of this activity is how to retell the story they already read using a good English, and talking about the grammar, the pronunciation, the vocabulary, and the comprehension when they retell the story. What is the judge is not the only this thing, but the main things is how they behave when they retell the story. Whether they are nervous or not, whether their voice is loud enough for their friend to hear or not. And one more, students come to the front of the class when they retell the story. That's how I can explain when I using a short story as the material to improve student speaking skill. Now I'll show you some short story that I use in this learning process. And that's all that I can explain to you when I'm using this short story to improve student speaking skill. Thank you for watching this and see you.